everything we do. Cryptocurrencies are ultimately going to take over fiat. The more you educate yourself, the more you empower yourself. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's the Crypto Crow. It's 5:36 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I am live. There's so much news going on today. Some days I sit, I go through, and I read what's happening in the market, in the world, and everything else, and there's just not that much popping. And I'm like, I just don't even know what to talk about today. Like, it's when the news runs together and it's pretty much the same story over and over and over, I'm just kind of like, I start to tune out because I'm like, I've seen this. I read this yesterday and the day before. But today, there's so much stuff going on. And, some good, some not so good. Finally getting real-time alerts. That's good. I'm glad to hear that. I will show you early adopters, you early folks. This is a new TikTok video that my wife just did of us. We just did this like 5 minutes ago, and it's kind of funny. So you know what? Here, I'll start by showing this. So this is the video that we did. It's already at 27,000 views, and it's just me standing around like a blockhead. It's just a fun, stupid little thing. And it was basically like, my husband said that if I get 1,000 views, that he'll do another TikTok with me, or 1,000 likes or whatever. So she did. She got over 1,000 likes. The TikTok community is awesome. I mean, the way they just support new people, and they just, it's really actually pretty stinking cool. So we just shot this and thought it was kind of funny because she does do this sometimes, and it is kind of funny. Here, I'll let you guys check it out.
Babe, I'm leaving. Babe, I'm leaving.
So.
Bye, honey.
Bye, babe. So that's pretty much what we do. That's how we roll sometimes. But yeah, that was just a fun little thing I thought I would show everybody. Bitcoin's been moving up a bit, but we're already starting to kind of lose momentum, as you can see in this 4-hour chart, in this 4-hour candle. And I'm not sure what's to come, but I've been reading through a lot of different things, and there's so many completely drastically different. I see your comments in the chat now. There's obviously a bit of a delay from when I do something to when the chat starts rolling around. I'm 7 foot tall, legitimately 7 foot tall. I am kind of Godzilla. My wife's only 5 foot tall. So, there's a very drastic difference. What's up, Rito? Haven't seen you in a while, man. You'd kill someone in the octagon. No, I didn't kill him. But the fight was over in like 35 seconds. So anyway, there's such a drastically different sentiment going on depending on who you talk to. And I actually have some suspicions about this. Ross Ulbricht's ninth price analysis predicts Bitcoin prices below 3,000. Now, this came out on April 22nd, 2020. And the founder of the Silk Road Marketplace, Ross Ulbricht, has published another analysis that attempts to predict the price of Bitcoin. Albrecht started sharing his price examinations last December, and he leveraged the patterns of Elliott wave theory to bolster his forecast. So, obviously, some of you guys know what Elliott wave theory is. I actually have been talking about these two books about it that I have. Look, I think there's some credibility to Elliott wave theory to a large extent, but I also think that theory is based on pretty, like, the Bitcoin market isn't exactly a normal market right now. And it's still a market, and I don't know, maybe it is that this is common. I never sat around trading traditional stocks before, so I don't know what's common. But is manipulation as common in traditional markets as it is in crypto? Because in the majority of a lot of these big swinging traditional stocks, I have fought. I fought once, like when I got out of MMA, just to like kind of like an homage to everybody and to see what I could do. I like Elliott wave theory to a large extent, but I feel like Ross is putting a lot of his eggs in this Elliott theory basket, and I'm not necessarily sure how I feel about it. Now, and there's some other things that I question about this, but so Ross Ulbricht has been locked behind bars for a long time now, and during the last few months, he's been publishing his analysis reports concerning the price of Bitcoin going forward. News.bitcoin.com covered Ulbricht's first research study and detailed that Ulbricht was using the Elliott wave theory to formulate his findings. The principle was created by Ralph Nelson Elliott, and the theory involves an analysis of trends like market highs and lows. In December, Albrecht wrote that the current wave we are in today, it could take the price to regions between $93,000 and $109,000. However, the wave can take a long time to fully materialize, and the wave right now may not extend until February of 2021. Okay, fair enough. But then he goes in to say, Albrecht's latest examination of Bitcoin's price is called Bitcoin by Ross number 9, a strong signal for lower prices. And the report is calling for a big drop. Albrecht believes the price could drop back down below the $3,000 range again during this current cycle. And then he goes on to talk about some of these details. Now, one of the problems that I have about this is that this prediction, completely ignores the stock to flow model that has been historically accurate pretty much since inception. B, how much is he able to study this stuff where he's at? Like, does he have a charting system? Like, how is he running Elliott wave theory in prison? That's what I don't understand. If he's able to run Elliott wave theory in prison, then I'm doubting he's in too bad of a place. I don't know where he is, but I'm doubting he's in too bad of a place if he's able to chart this stuff out. And I mean, is this on notebook paper? It's not on notebook paper. I don't know what he's doing this on. But I mean, it's interesting. However, I also wonder if there are any potential ulterior motives in this. And I hate to say this. I know that there are a lot of Ross Ulbricht lovers out there, but let's remember one thing about Ross Ulbricht, folks. He put together the Silk Road and created a platform that facilitated the ability for people to hire hitmen, buy drugs, and do all sorts of shady shit. Like, people, when I had his mother on my channel a couple years ago, and, did he necessarily deserve 2 life sentences? Did he deserve to become like a poster boy for that sort of stuff? No, I don't think so. I think the penalty was very, very stiff, but it doesn't take away from the fact that the dude was still a criminal. I mean, I don't necessarily look to Ross Ulbricht just because he had kind of, and I know some people are going to absolutely hate me for saying this, but like, I just call it how I see it. It's my personal truth, my personal opinion. I'm not saying that he's necessarily a bad guy. And from what I understand, there were other people associated with this platform that were completely left alone, unless I'm mistaken. Yeah, he's an entrepreneur, sure. More power to him. But the business that he started was, I don't know what, and I don't mean to like completely crap all over the guy. He got a really raw deal. I mean, for sure. And I would like to see that overturned somehow, or appealed or repealed or whatever. I don't know. But he was a first adopter in Bitcoin and created like a first big use case. Okay, I'll give him that. But it was still illegal, like flat out, blatantly illegal. And so I don't really sympathize that much. And I'm sorry, it's like I hate to say that. But then on top of that, he's been locked up now for so long that I have to wonder, like, what are his resources that are enabling him to chart Bitcoin's price? Like, is he able to get newspapers with crypto charts in them? Does he have does he have a computer? What does he have that's enabling him to chart this? And then my other question is, why would he go against the Bitcoin stock to flow model that's been historically accurate today with such a bearish prediction? And by that I mean, oh God, I hate to sound this way. I'm just voicing my thought, okay? But I see other stuff going on, right? I've seen articles about institutions with like billions of dollars ready and waiting to go in, right? Almost like it's like a football team ready to rush the field. It's like you see these articles about all of this institutional money getting ready to, and they're already starting to accumulate some Bitcoin and Ethereum, and they're starting to cherry pick their positions. But there's so much money on the sidelines right now waiting to go in. What are they waiting for exactly? If all this money is into place, we know that the Bitcoin halving is coming and nearing closer and closer. What are they waiting for? And what is Ross trying to tell us? Do you get where I'm going with this? Is he trying to warn us of something? And if he is, how does he know? Is all this clicking? Am I making any sense here? I'm just seeing what's going on. And we see articles like this. Okay, Bitcoin surges past 7,100, leaving $15 million worth of burned BitMEX shorts. Okay, so after managing to retake 7,200 on the weekend, Bitcoin tumbled lower on Monday morning, falling as low as 6,800 in a move that liquidated $40 million worth of BitMEX long positions. With this, the cryptocurrency had tumbled 7% from the weekend highs and 9% from the $7,470 highs seen 2 weeks back. So a bunch of shorts got liquidated. Okay, cool. Bitcoin rallies in tandem with oil. It seems that once again, that Bitcoin's price action is basically a derivative of that of the US stock market, which itself is being influenced by oil prices at the moment. The S&P 500 is actually up 1.8% in the past 24 hours after posting its worst day in weeks of negative 3% on Tuesday, reversing after a $500 billion coronavirus bill that was passed by the US Senate. Could be the start of a greater rally. Per previous reports from News BTC, crypto trader Nunya Business, oh my gosh, that's funny, remarked that Bitcoin's chart from the February, you got me on that one for a second there. Highs as low as February highs of $10,500 and now have formed a classic bar bottom marked by 3 textbook phases of a lead in, a bump, and then a run, which we're starting to see some of that. So we're seeing some of this activity starting to play out. This came out like 2 minutes ago. Wonderful. Now, Coinbase and Ripple-backed startup launches Twitter-based payment system. This is actually pretty cool news. The fintech startup Dharma is launching a new system that allows Twitter users to accept payments in US dollars. The peer-to-peer platform touts its solution as a way for people on Twitter to receive tips and micropayments easily and without fees. In addition, Dharma says money stored in its wallets earn an APR of 3.6%. So, this is kind of a brief article. It doesn't say a whole hell of a lot more than that, but that's an interesting headline. Now, I'm going to get into this one a little bit. Stablecoin issuances do not push up the price of Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies, according to research funded by the University of California, Berkeley's Haas Blockchain Initiative. I'm going to bump this up a bit here. So we're going to start here. In the report issued Friday, Richard Lyons, UC Berkeley's Chief Innovation and Entrepreneurship Officer, and Ganesh Viswanath Natraj, assistant professor of finance at the Warwick Business School, found stablecoins serve as tools for investors to react to market movement and not as drivers of price inflation or collapse, which I've been saying this for the longest time, which is one of the reasons why I say, look, if the government wants to get rid of a lot of these stablecoins and replace them with a government regulated stablecoins, I'm fine with that. To me, they're just a trading tool. That's all they've been. But so many people look at the minting or the printing of stablecoins as kind of an indication of what's to come in Bitcoin's price action and so forth and so on. And so I'm like, but when I look at a lot of this stuff, Bitcoin hitting $8,000 thanks to the halving, Bitcoin options aren't so bullish. Bitcoin options may be pointing to a bearish outcome for BTC price despite less than 3 weeks remaining before the halving. When the Bitcoin price halving is less than 20 days away, with the Bitcoin price halving less than 20 days away, some analysts predict that an inflow of capital will accompany the run-up to the event that reduced selling pressure at below production prices, therefore will catalyze a bullish trend for Bitcoin price. However, Bitcoin options data tells a different story. Let's take a closer look. Options on open interest on the rise. According to Skew, open interest in Bitcoin options contracts has been increasing since the beginning of April, with ByBit holding the majority of the market share. The total Bitcoin options open interest is currently at $623 million. Open interest has been increasing in regulated Bitcoin options as well, with Chicago Mercantile Exchange, or the CME, Backed, and LedgerX all showing increased open interest in their Bitcoin options. For example, the CME is currently seeing $11 million in open interest for options contracts, more than double the $5.1 million figure at the start of April. Rising institutional interest is further demonstrated by the recent Grayscale quarterly report, which shows that the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust currently holds 1.7% of the total Bitcoin supply. GBTC also saw its best quarter yet in terms of capital inflows, and this is despite the market turmoil. Quarter over quarter inflows more than doubled to $503 million, demonstrating demand is reaching new peak levels even in a risk-off environment. So, I think the majority of the people are wrong. A rise put-call ratio should be bullish for BTC price, as most of these puts will expire worthless. Puts are also a good hedging, aka an insurance instrument, so people that are hodling Bitcoin might be scared that mining will be in trouble, and they are buying puts to protect their positions. This is all so much of the outside of like the options and the leverage trading and all of that kind of stuff. The sentiment about miner capitulation, whether or not miners are going to last this halving and all this other, it's the same stuff as the last cycle, as I've demonstrated in previous videos recently. But I'm curious. I'm curious if there is a substantial effort to manipulate Bitcoin's price action as we head into the halving to give us one last crash of some kind before the halving. And the institutions know it, and they are lining up ready to buy in after this crash happens. And for some reason, they have Ross Ulbricht now, who's making these big, bold predictions that kind of go against everything you would think someone like Ross would be saying at a time like this. So I have to think with my tinfoil hat a little bit, and I have to wonder, Ross has been basically locked up by a system that he feels let him down, and many others do as well. Is this him basically trying to warn everybody of the institutions and what is planned prior to this halving? Are we going to see one big crash before the halving? Is this not necessarily a prediction, but a warning as to what is coming, because the institutional investors out there are working on a narrative to try and make this happen so that they can buy in right before the time that Bitcoin is expected to start its 2-year climb at prices far below where we're at today, or half. This is the kind of stuff that happens in traditional markets, I'm very well aware. It's also very illegal in any sort of securities market. But as we know, the majority of cryptocurrencies have not been classified as securities. And therefore, a lot of this kind of stuff, even if there is market manipulation in non-securities, there's nobody to oversee that. So these people are playing on a lot of that, expecting to get away with it. What is my personal belief? My personal belief is I don't give a shit. I don't care, because even if this were to happen, it's probably going to be super quick. This is going to be one of these things to where they are going to, if this is a concentrated and manipulated effort to drive Bitcoin's price down one last time, they're going to do so in a time when they're waiting. I expect to see something happening in the market. If this is all some form of manipulation, and this is some form of warning about what may very well happen, I believe that when we see it, it's going to happen very, very fast, and the majority of the general public are not going to catch it. If anything, it's going to happen over a period of maybe 1 or 2 days, and it's going to drop down significantly, cause people to panic sell into the hands of the institutional investors that are forced to buy through exchanges or a variety of different platforms, or even over the counter for that matter. And they're going to short it on one way, then they're going to long it on the way back up once they have their pockets filled as much as they can before this halving. And that is what I expect. And I'm hoping that when that does happen, if that does happen, that it's the last time it's able to happen. But we'll have to see. Crow always wants it to go up. Why? Doesn't he want it cheap? Yeah, sure, I do. But I also think of the greater market overall. You know, it's like if Bitcoin doesn't grow, then there's no more speculation. If there's no more speculation, then the altcoin market suffers, because a lot of these projects are still working to establish themselves with limited capital because they launched these ICOs. Everybody went about, well, not everybody, but the majority of the people in the crypto space launched a lot of these altcoin projects with strong positive intentions to build something life-changing for a lot of people. And a lot of them are still grinding it out, trying to work on accomplishing those goals while they watch their available capitalization dwindle due to the bear market. And I want to see that start to recover, and I don't want to wait anymore. It's already been a matter of a few years. If you haven't accumulated anything by now, you're probably not going to anyway over the next couple of months, so who gives a shit? I'm sorry. Everybody has been screaming this for 3 years now. And so, you know, when is enough is honestly my thought on it. Like how low do you need the market to stay for how long before you've, and here's the thing. Bitcoin right now is still at such a ridiculously low price that just because you might not be able to buy half a Bitcoin, or whatever, you can still buy $10 worth, $100 worth, and that's still going to continue to grow and grow and grow over the coming years into the future. Like, Bitcoin holders today are going to retire early with an abundance of capital. That is my belief. And it doesn't really matter why or what price Bitcoin is right now. The name of the game is accumulating. And on top of that, Bitcoin is a catalyst in a lot of ways. It's a store of value against altcoin speculation, in my opinion. Okay? That's its strongest use case. So it's the catalyst. What happens with Bitcoin is ultimately going to spill out over into the altcoin market. So there are altcoins right now for less than 5 cents that are likely going to explode over the next 2 years. The name of the game isn't just about Bitcoin. Let Bitcoin rise. And while Bitcoin is rising, do your research to better educate yourself on what's coming in the altcoin space. Look at everything going on with Cardano right now, a project that has been shit on, lied about. Just, how many times has Charles been just completely it's like mind-boggling, the stuff that this man has had to deal with. From people who have ulterior motives, from people who have sinister motives, and no other interest than themselves. And I'm not even just talking about one in particular person. I'm talking about multiple people out there who are constantly trying to spread lies and FUD about this project because they hold giant bags in competing projects that aren't performing so well, that stand to lose a much larger percentage of their market share once Shelley and Goguen and everything starts really kicking off with the Cardano blockchain? Absolutely. And it's bullshit and it's sinister. And I would never trust any of those people for any bit of advice, no matter what the hell they're talking about. But so many people are the blind being led by the blind, or the blind being led by people with ulterior motives. They're not transparent. They don't speak from the heart. Everything is a tongue-in-cheek mission to try and screw thy neighbor. And it's not just with influencers or any of that. It's everybody in this space. Like, there's a big part of the cryptocurrency space to me that gets under my skin and pisses me off, because it's people constantly trying to screw others on their way and their effort to try and rise up above the rest. That's not how you grow, folks. That's not how you grow. You don't grow by trying to keep your foot on somebody's head underwater so that you can jump up and grab the ladder. That's not how it works. That's building a foundation of flimsiness. It's like building a glass house. You don't do that. And that's what I don't like to see in this space. And there are so many projects out there that I know are hiring firms, hiring influencers, hiring people to go out there and spread these messages of negativity, FUD, doubt, lies, bullshit, because they are afraid of them. So to me, when I read stuff that I'm like, oh, wow, there's sure is a lot of FUD going on around this project. And then I go in and I read the white paper and I go in and I do some research and I'm like, where's all this coming from? Then I start to realize this is a concentrated effort from competitors who do not want to see this project do well in the eyes of the public. And they'll stop at nothing. And some of them are well funded and they don't want to lose that solid funding or that strong capitalization or whatever it is that they've established to that point. And they don't want to lose it to a competitor that's fucking better. And that's all there is to it. And so when I see a lot of this stuff go on, it gives me this pit in my stomach. The name of the game isn't just about Bitcoin. It's about this disruption, this era of disruption. It's about blockchain. It's about transparency. It's about decentralization. It's about all of these things that are supposed to be for and about and by the people to help us rise up into a position that we probably very well deserve, but we've been unable to obtain because we've been suppressed and repressed and everything else by all the people with a lot more capital, power, money, connections, you name it, than we were born with. And that to me is why this market is so important, and I'm done fucking waiting. That's why Bitcoin doesn't need to go lower. It needs to go higher. We need to start seeing some relief after these last 3 years of hell, as all of these projects have been struggling to try and make changes in the way they work so that they can just get by and push through. Because what's going to happen? What's going to happen to a lot of these projects that were properly funded in a time when the market was hot and everybody was bullish, but then the market changed and went bear, and it started with Bitcoin and it fell through everything else? Well, what happens to those projects then that weren't able to survive past and to survive through this really difficult time? Oh, well, then they're going to become scams in the eyes of people, which is bullshit. And when that starts to happen, then the public is going to start looking at this market overall as one giant fucking scam, which it's not. So when I see people say, stop trying to push prices, why do you want it to be higher? Why do you want it to be higher? Because it's bigger than fucking me. That's why. Because everything going on in the market today is bigger than you. It's bigger than me. This is about everybody. This is about a collective of an entire industry trying to work together for a goal that's much more important than whether or not you make an extra $100 fucking dollars. Anyway, Bitcoin price almost entirely recovered from the March 12 plunge. This without external help from the Fed. This to me is the overall message of Bitcoin. This to me is, I'm just going to turn the chat off in the video itself because you just can't see it anyway. I will, yeah, you just can't see it anyway. Look, guys, I mean, the last 2 years, of this bear market has been it's been an extremely difficult period for me and for a lot of others. I talk to these CEOs of these projects. I know the struggles they're going through. I understand the pitfalls and the difficulties that have arisen because of the bear market and what's happened to their capital, what's happened to their ability to meet projections, to do what they've set out to do. This is hopefully, we're on the verge of a new opportunity for them to complete their tasks, to achieve their goals, and finally bring this market to a place that we all expect it to be. But we have to work together. We can't be constantly shitting on each other, lying about each other, lying about a good project because you hold bags for another. There is room for it all to grow together. It's this mentality that makes me sick and it drives me insane. It's this, we have to suppress, we have to push things down so that it's constantly at a level that I can access it. And it's not going to happen. It's not the way things work. We've had so much time and today we have more time and opportunity. So it's if you need more than what you have on this very day, then the market's not your problem. There's nothing but air and opportunity right now. And let's just say that things start to pick up. There are still big hurdles with some of this stuff. DeFi horror continues. Factum based network, PegNet, 51% attacked, $6.7 million worth of stablecoins falsified. This DeFi craze that everybody is going crazy about, to me, just looks like a trap. I mean, there are so many more DeFi projects and everybody's touting them as ways to make money and earn interest and this and that. But it's all being built on Ethereum. And when is anybody going to realize that there are a lot of issues still with Ethereum? And like, it just does not seem that secure. Now, some people are saying, well, it's not Ethereum that's insecure. It's the way that these smart contracts are being written by these shitty developers trying to cash in on a new vertical within the crypto industry. And maybe that's true. But that's the kind of shit that we need regulation for. I mean, in my opinion, just because these are decentralized finance applications doesn't mean that they should not be regulated. Sorry, folks, but that's just how I see it. If exchanges have to be regulated, these and keep in mind, I'm not a guru about DeFi platforms. I haven't dove into them because I saw this shit coming a long time ago. Every day I go and I look at the news now, it seems like another DeFi platform was hacked and multi-millions of dollars were stolen by some random freaking person somewhere in a country that nobody can track down. And this is the kind of shit that scares me. I don't think that our space is necessarily ready for DeFi platforms just yet. I don't think that we have the security in place for DeFi platforms just yet. And I know that goes against the grain, but that's just kind of how I see it right now, folks. Look at how many millions of dollars are being lost all over the place because of these damn things. And there's just too many bad actors looking to capitalize. And it's like, how do you know that some of these DeFi projects aren't being launched by bad actors and then intentionally set up in a way that makes them hackable so that their buddy down the street can hack that shit, steal the money, and give probable deniability to the CEO? It's like, I don't trust a lot of this stuff right now. I just don't. I'm not There's one, and I'm not, I mean, they're not paying me or anything, but I trust Celsius Network because I trust Alex Mashinsky. And that's not even, to me, that's not necessarily like, it's not like a huge DeFi type platform. It's just, to me, it's just, I mean, it is what it is. Crow, so you welcome Cardano being regulated. Ethereum DeFi apps will transition to Cardano, right? Look, I hope that, here's the thing. It depends. I'm not a security expert. I don't know fully how, maybe that's a really good topic for me and Charles to dive into someday and really discuss in depth. How much more secure is Cardano than Ethereum? What about Cardano would limit hacker abilities to, like, let's just say hypothetically somebody took a DeFi application from Ethereum and migrated over to Cardano. How would that change the nature of its security to prohibit stuff like this from happening? What steps would need to be taken to further secure those DeFi apps on Cardano to make sure that they're not as vulnerable as they are currently? So that's a question. That's a question. But overall, I like the DeFi stuff. It just scares me. Honestly, I would not be putting my money on DeFi apps right now. These four fundamental signs show a Bitcoin bull rally is growing more likely. I really did kind of lose my shit for a minute, and I just had enough. I've just had enough. I've had enough of all the ignorance in the just the nastiness in the space. I've had enough of seeing it. I've had enough of I've just had enough. There's just too much negativity and there are just too many selfish, terrible people in the space, and I'm already fed up with them. Bitcoin and crypto haven't spared the recent crash in global markets. From its February peak of $10,500, the price of Bitcoin is down around 33% as of April 18th, falling in tandem with global equities and commodities. And yet, multiple sets of data and other signs indicate that the crypto industry is anything but dead, and that yet another full-blown bull run is on the horizon. A Bitcoin bull rally is brewing. Metrics. It's like saying science. And as observed by crypto exchange ShakePay, despite the most significant economic collapse of the 21st century, Bitcoin hasn't been phased. In fact, the firm noted that per coin metrics, the number of active addresses on the network is reaching a multi-month high, recently surmounting the sum of 840,000 addresses. There are now more addresses in existence. Active typically means has had transactions within the last 24 hours. I guess it's relative to the source. But active generally means has had something going on within 24 hours, which is a pretty big deal. If there are over 840,000 addresses, an absolute all-time peak, what do you think those people are going to be using those addresses for? The majority are holding, and they're going to lower. The more active addresses we have that are buying Bitcoin and holding them on those addresses, the lower the circulating supply will be. And once the halving hits, that circulating supply that continues to dwindle due to the number of people holding instead of buying and trading in and out, that just makes the current circulating supply of Bitcoin that much easier to increase in price, which we know that if there were 200 Bitcoin being traded on the market and that's all that was currently available because everyone else was holding them, those 200 Bitcoin would dictate the price value of everything else on the market for as long as the demand outweighed that supply. So these are all very big signs. This is notable as it's a metric that has historically grown to mark the start of Bitcoin price rallies, then remain consistently high to cement bull trends. The resilience of the Bitcoin network has only been accentuated by other metrics. For instance, according to an April 16th report from crypto and blockchain and analytics startup Glassnode, Bitcoin's hash rate has recovered 64% from the lowest day in March, which came a few days after the crash, to $3,700. Then the hash rate was at 82 exahashes per second. Now the same metric is just under 132. Not too far shy of the all-time high, closer to 140. This trend was slightly eased by a late March difficulty adjustment of negative 17% for Bitcoin, which has made it easier for miners to find blocks, hence the increase in hash rate. Money is flooding into the industry. To add to this, capital is starting to rush into the crypto market at a rapid clip, cementing the strength of the space. From a trading perspective, we continue to onboard new clients every month and are seeing significant pipeline growth. And in recent weeks, we've seen more momentum across our business. Fidelity Digital Assets specifically cited pensions, family offices, and macro hedge funds as the subset of institutional players it is now servicing amidst the crisis. Look, I could go on, but the gist of it is that things are popping off. Things are heating up. Things are starting. Now, I'm on a 4-hour chart. I'm going to go to a daily. We don't have that much time. This is the line in the sand. Like I showed in a previous video, 16 days prior to the 2016 halving, we got a 40% uptrend that ended up going to over a 73% up trade that started 16 days before the halving and ended, I forget how many days after, before we then saw a 40% drop. And then we saw strong accumulation and price action growth for over 2 years, or for 2 years. So we're at the brink of this now. Now, whether or not we're going to have a strong dump prior to this pump into the Bitcoin halving, I don't really know. I think there's definitely people that are trying to figure out a way to suppress the price and push it down so they could get some last bits of institutional money into the space before this big drive up. But keep in mind, 2016, we didn't have a lot of the leverage trading, the options trading. We didn't have a lot of this stuff then that we do now. And that's going to play a role into what happens, because those kinds of markets ultimately help a lot in terms of let's just say the inspiration to further manipulate a market one way or another, because now you can make money pushing the market up or down. And so when you're able to make money on both sides of the fence, you're going to see a little bit more accumulation. You're going to see more dramatic and volatile price swings in one direction or the other. And until mass adoption is truly kicked in and Bitcoin is at a price that it really helps eliminate a lot of that kind of activity. Ultimately, in the grand scheme of things, folks, the Bitcoin market as it stands right now, and all of these cycles leading up to the final Bitcoin halving, the final day that Bitcoin has finished adding new Bitcoin to the market, 2140 or whatever. The goal of governments, the goal of traditional investors, the goal of everybody out there from this day forward especially is going to be all about taking the Bitcoin you have and keeping it themselves. And I can't be any more clear than that. If the market drops and you panic sell your Bitcoin into the hands of those that are working the system to get it, you've played yourself. That's my personal opinion. That's my personal message. That's how I feel. Do what works best for you, but that's how I look at the market now, because things are about to start heating up. Everybody knows it. Everybody feels it. They know. Viral outbreak be damned. The Fed and everybody and all the stuff going on, debasing our currencies. It's on the world over. This is a prime situation that I believe is going to put Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies in a much more stronger limelight than it was even months ago. And I think everybody knows that. They see it coming, and they see more people taking interest and picking up that baton and ready to hit that race. So until next time, guys, crow your coins. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you again soon.